Cool, so I want to talk to you today about why knitting is cool. I'm going to give you a really brief history of knitting, and I want to talk to you about the cool things you can do, and also about other offshoot crafts that are just as awesome as knitting that I love. So basically, starting off with a little bit of history, nobody actually knows where knitting originated. Our best guess somewhere in the Middle East around the 11th or 12th century. Probably Egypt. The earliest known samples of knitting come from Egypt. We're guessing that people probably wanted clothes, so that's our guess. Now, most people, when they think of knitting, they have a really, really distinct stereotype in their mind. They think of something along the lines of these snazzy people. Some kind of home-crafted, dorky jumper, probably made by a grandparent and or relative that they're being forced to wear. I hope that by the end of this, when you think of knitting, you at least don't think this. There are so many awesome, cool things you can do, and with the internet nowadays, you can find patterns for pretty much anything. You can find kids' toys, cool fashion accessories. I love making baby presents, they're quick and easy. Not so dorky jumpers, other sorts of fashion mitts, scarves, hats. And if you want, you can make a knitted Madonna. If Madonna isn't your thing, you can make Elvis, the Queen, Mr. T. Gundy, and more. There is a Borat icon out there that I didn't put in for fear of disgusting someone. The first thing that you need are some knitting needles. You can get knitting needles in many shapes and sizes, from the really tiny ones you need to make socks to the giant ones you need to make blankets. Pick something in between and you can't go wrong. Wood, metal, doesn't really matter, they all do the same thing. The second thing you need is the help of your trusty sheep. So wool is the most common knitting material. There's so many different types of wool. There's merino, which is really, really soft and lovely for scarves and things that you wear against the skin. Some people are allergic to wool, so unfortunately they can't use it. But however, especially in India, wool's really, really warm. You don't really want to knit with it and wear woolen garments. But there's other really light things you can use to knit as well. So you can knit with bamboo fibre, so this is a plant-based fibre. You can also knit with cotton, which is beautifully light and airy for summer garments. And on the right here you can see some silk fibre. Silk is really, really soft and lovely to knit with, it doesn't hurt your hands at all, and it looks awesome. Now the only problem with knitting is I call it a gateway craft. It's really, really hard to stop at knitting, like it's really, really hard to stop at one cookie. There's lots of other cool things you can do, and many people that start knitting end up starting to do one of the following crafts that I want to talk to you about. The first one up is crochet. So instead of using two knitting needles, you just use one hook, and you create a series of loops and knots and create something awesome. My favourite thing to make with crochet is stuffed animals. This is a toy that I made for my baby nephew. I'll talk to you about orders later. The second craft is felting. So felting is the art of taking something horribly big and saggy and shrinking it down into something really tight and compact and lovely. It's really good for making slippers and bags, something that you want to be sturdy. The way you do this is you put it in the washing machine and shrink it. So my dad is really, really good at this, much to my dismay. Another craft is dyeing. So most knitters come across the event that they can't find the colour yarn that they want, so they start to dye their own. There's bunches of different dyes you can use. There's acid-based dyes, which are a bit harsh, and there's also food-based dyes. One food-based dye people use is Kool-Aid. So if it colours yarn, imagine what it does to your insides. Spinning is my current favourite of the offshoot crafts of knitting. Basically, you take a bunch of fibre, either raw from the sheep or combed and dyed beautifully like this one, and you spin it and create yarn. So this is some yarn that I've made on the right-hand side there. Basically, you draw the fibre out, put a whole bunch of spin into it, and create a lovely yarn. So that yarn I made on the previous slide, I actually made with a drop spindle, which you can see on the left there. Drop spindle is basically a big long stick with a disc on top. You attach the fibre, draw it out, spin the spindle, and the spin actually travels up the yarn and creates a really, really sturdy fibre material. There was a spinning wheel there, won't go on to that. Yarn bombing is this really awesome phenomenon. Basically, it's graffiti, but you use yarn instead of spray paint. So this is more of a yarn installation, but you can see on the next slide some easy yarn bombing things you can learn to do in your own hometowns. On the left, this lady is from Melbourne, I'm happy to say. So she crocheted a telephone pole cozy. Why not? And on the right-hand side, you can see my own yarn bombing efforts with a bit of an antenna cozy on my dad's car. He was really amused. Cool, here are some other cool things that you can make that I've made. Gloves, a baby blanket, also for my nephew, stupid hat socks. Stupid hats are one of my favourite things to make. So I think I've reached the point where I've convinced you can do some cool things with craft and with knitting. So you all probably want to learn how to do it yourselves. So where do you go to learn? Go to YouTube. There are fantastic videos on YouTube from really, really simple to really, really complex techniques. But if you like to keep it old school and you're learning knitting, so you probably do, here are some really cool books to check out. They teach you the basic and have some really fun projects that aren't those dorky jumpers that I showed you at the very start. Another really important thing, get online, get on this website here. It's the best online knitting community you'll find. You can find free patterns, you can connect with people, and my favourite thing is that you can join groups and communities. So in these communities you can just have fun, share your patterns, share your projects. You can also do other really cool things like donate your knitted items to charity. So in World War I, hundreds of thousands of knitted socks and otherwise were actually donated to the soldiers. You can do similar things. You can also donate hats to cancer patients and blankets overseas to those people who need them. So that is pretty much the end of my presentation. Knitting is cool. Please don't think of dorky jumpers. There are heaps of cool things you can do. My prices are reasonable if anybody wants to place an order for me. There we are. Thank you very much.
I just have to make a stupid build hat.
Yay!